Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're gearing up and arming ourselves to the teeth as we step into the best first-person shooter experiences the PS2 had to offer.
Stay calm, Sarge. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be alright. Hey, where's that medic?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Urban Chaos Riot Response.
Now that's what I call zero tolerance. Come on!
You wouldn't believe by looking at it that Urban Chaos Riot Response was the debut game from famed Batman Arkham developer Rocksteady, as the two series have absolutely nothing in common. But for their first title, Rocksteady already showed great promise. Although the game offers a familiar level-based formula of clearing each section of enemies before moving on, the game offers a scoring system upon completion, leading to multiple retries for better gear unlocks. The shooting mechanics are solid, as is the implementation of the Riot Shield, which can block or deflect incoming projectiles and is essential for later levels with more dangerous enemies. Unfortunately, there's no real storyline to speak of, and the game's main focus is on the moment-to-moment combat. But thankfully, the game is enjoyable enough these oversights are easy to overlook, and a great way to unleash some justice while also making your community a safer place.
Great job! The city will thank you for this. I'll make sure of it.
Cold Winter.
No identity, no family, no records. Our man doesn't exist. Invisible and perfectly disposable.
Towards the end of the PS2's life cycle, devs were pushing the aging hardware to its absolute limits, and Cold Winter made the most out of the new ragdoll and physics engines available at the time. Weaving a compelling spy epic, Cold Winter spun a tale of nuclear world-ending threats and set players loose with a multitude of weapons to enact their own form of justice on the evildoers hell-bent on world destruction. The impressive physics allowed for not only realistic dismemberment at the hands of whatever weapon you had available, but also environmental interaction unlike anything else in the genre that allowed players to create their own cover or even block an entrance to stop surprisingly intelligent enemies. Players could also create their own gadgets and improvised explosives with the game's highly detailed crafting system, all of which gave players an experience unlike anything else offered by other typical FPS experiences on the PS2. Darkwatch.
The war is over! The Darkwatch will be destroyed!
Darkwatch is such an entertaining concept, it's amazing it hasn't been replicated again except maybe by the likes of Evil West. After being turned into a daywalker, main character Jericho Cross, incredible name for a Western character, must battle his inner hunger and bloodlust to combat the head vampire and reclaim his humanity. With numerous vampiric powers available to unlock depending on your morality choices, dealing with the legions of the undead is only the start of your battles. Jericho also has access to a steampunk-inspired arsenal of weaponry, and the entire game embraces its Western horror aesthetic, creating some truly impressive environments and creature designs. Everything about the game works in tandem. The powers, the world, and character designs, the surprisingly deep narrative all come together to create something entirely new and engrossing. In a world of generic war first-person shooters, be it Darkwatch.
Come on, Jericho. It's time to go home.
James Bond 007 Nightfire.
The stolen device is in that truck. If we hurry, we can still catch it. By the way, who are you?
The name's Bond. James Bond.
While it will be an unenviable task to try and match up to the juggernaut that is GoldenEye 007, Nightfire does an admirable job and comes damn close. Telling an original story with Pierce Brosnan as 007, even if he didn't voice the character, Nightfire has all the hallmarks of a fantastic Bond story and more than lives up to the legacy of the famed 00 agent. The implementation of Bond moments, which let players enact specific actions only 007 himself could get away with, along with a myriad of gadgets, firearms, and vehicles, Nightfire recreates the best the Bond franchise has to offer, all held together by a storyline that felt like a Bond summer blockbuster. The game even goes so far as to send Bond to space. How many other 007 games have Bond going to space? None. That's how many. Mission accomplished. Project Snowblind.
It's the most important thing you're gonna learn out here in the field, so listen up. Ready? Here it is. It's not about you.
Deus Ex might be the pinnacle of player choice in the FPS genre, but Project Snowblind gave it a good shot, which makes sense considering the game originally started development as an entry in the venerated series. Project Snowblind offers players far more choice in their playstyle than most of the other PS2 FPSs, allowing for a more player-driven experience despite the game's linear design. With numerous ways to approach each mission as well as multiple branching paths, including hackable cameras, turrets, and even robots to aid you in battle. Players are also granted numerous augmentation powers through cybernetics, further opening options for both direct combat or stealth. Project Snowblind might have been a bit on the shorter side, but with so many options available in how the player tackles the game's mini missions, the game also offers plenty of replayability.
Let me state of the art forever!
Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1.
Look at all this sand, guys! I sure ain't in Jersey no more!
Well, at least you can be thankful for that.
Oh god! Medic!
Call of Duty might have only just taken its first steps onto the battlefield on the PS2, but it had already nailed the formula for a polished and entertaining experience. World War II shooters on PlayStation were fairly common thanks to the Medal of Honor series, but after Finest Hour was anything but, Big Red 1 offered a far more visceral and intense experience than anything Medal of Honor had crafted since the opening of Frontline. With a group of characters that felt like a true squad of brothers forged in combat by the time credits rolled, Big Red 1 remains one of the best narratives in the extensive Call of Duty catalog, and the variety of missions kept the entire experience from becoming repetitive. Combine all this with the early days of online multiplayer up to 16 players, and you have one of the best World War II and FPS experiences on the PS2.
Damn fine job, Sergeant. You do this division proud.
Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie.
Look at that! It's enormous!
Jack! Hey!
Hold them back while I get that door open!
Besides having one of the most unnecessarily long titles for a game, King Kong set a new bar for licensed games on the PS2. Not only does the game follow the plot of the film, but it also opts for a more cinematic presentation, completely foregoing the typical on-screen heads-up display, and the immersive gameplay is all the better for it. While playing as the Big Ape Kong himself is a blast, the segments where you attempt to survive Skull Island as Jack are just as enthralling, forcing you to narrowly survive one encounter to the next with barely enough ammo and supplies to make it out alive. Players are also encouraged to experiment and make use of all weapons available to them, especially those scattered around the environment. Few games before or since have managed to recapture the cinematic quality of their license, and Kong stands tall as the true eighth wonder of gaming. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Star Wars has had no shortage of adaptations over the years, but one of the fan favorites is undoubtedly Star Wars Battlefront 2. For a multiplayer weekend, Battlefront 2 was the perfect blend of strategy and chaos and some of the most fun you could have with a group of friends in a galaxy far, far away. With numerous unlockable hero classes, there was always something new to strive for and unlock. With both on-ground and space battles, there was no shortage of ways to engage in combat, with everything from the Star Wars universe being lovingly recreated as if they were lifted directly from the films themselves. However, as strong as the multiplayer offering was, the single-player campaign rivaled even the classic films with its cinematic presentation and narrative, crafting one of the best Star Wars campaigns of all time and more than worth the price of admission. Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30.
We're not falling back! Get down! This is gonna be bad!
With no shortage of World War II shooters on the PS2, Brothers in Arms Road to Hill 30 managed to stand out by doing something different and was based on real-world missions conducted during the mini-conflicts during the Second World War. Combat was also far more tactical, reflecting the more realistic approach to the typical World War II shooter. Players could direct squad mates using a series of commands, and elements such as enemy suppressive fire could interfere with the player's aim, making each encounter a stress-inducing ordeal while also forcing the player to rely on their squad rather than simply running in guns blazing. While other series were leaning more into the summer blockbuster aspect of the conflict, Brothers in Arms remains one of the most grounded simulations of the all too oversaturated World War II shooter.
Welcome to the end of the beginning. Grab your gear, troopers! We've still got a war to fight!
Quake III Revolution. The PS2 era was the early days of FPS games on console, and while not every PC shooter transferred well to a controller, Quake III Revolution managed the impossible and brought the lightning-fast gameplay to the PS2 with almost no limitations. Everything fans loved about the PC original was present, including the fast-paced boomer shooter gameplay, strafing, and even the all-important rocket jumps. The port's only real concession was the lack of true multiplayer besides split screen, instead opting to fill the game's many matches and levels with bots to fill in for actual players. However, given the speed of the gameplay and the sheer unadulterated fun Quake 3 offered, few were complaining as they rocketed around the game's mini arenas, spraying lead and spreading death, and while mouse and keyboard support would have been welcome, Quake 3 delivered exactly what it promised, a no-holds-barred first-person shooter experience on consoles. The operative. No one lives forever.
I'm not very happy, you know. It's not like I thought it would be.
I never promised it would be as exhilarating as your former trade, only that it would keep you out of jail and make it easier to sleep at night.
There may never be another GoldenEye 007, but on PS2, gamers got the next best thing with the operative No One Lives Forever. Borrowing not only the title of one of the many James Bond books, No One Lives Forever also tells the story of a British secret agent named Kate Archer in the 1960s and uses the time period to full extent with over-the-top outfits and pseudo-futuristic gadgets straight out of the Bond franchise. Instead of all-out action and gunplay, the game focuses on stealth and clever use of gadgets as Kate attempts to stop whatever world-dominating plans the evil organization HARM may be plotting. The series received multiple sequels, but the original No One Lives Forever was sadly the only one ported to consoles.
Drop your gun.
Or what? Are you gonna shoot me in cold blood?
If I have to.
That's mighty tough talk for a little girl.
13. Ignoring the abysmal recent remake, 13 remains a classic for its cel-shaded comic book style and presentation that is one of the few forms of media to faithfully bring the pages of the comic it's based on to life. Following an amnesiac spy who was blamed for the assassination of the US president, David Duchovny's charmingly monotonous tone brought the character of 13 to life. The text popping up as the player nailed headshots or the word boom quite literally erupting from explosions immersed the player in the pages of the comic book the game was based on. The title received mostly mixed reviews and poor sales killed any possibility of a sequel, but the game has become a cult classic and its stylish comic book aesthetic has more than helped it stand the test of time.
You magnificent son of a bitch. You okay, Wally?
Is it really over?
You bet your ass.
Area 51. Over the years, countless properties have had players facing down the aliens, whether they're invading us, we're invading them, or we just happen to encounter them out in the vastness of space, but few have truly tapped into the potential of the top secret base Area 51. A pseudo-remake of the light gun game of the same name, Area 51 puts players, oddly enough, in the military boots of David Duchovny once again, as he and his team are sent in to clean up a mutant virus outbreak. The title is chock full of government conspiracies, shocking revelations, and unlikely allies, as well as a surprisingly star-studded voice cast, even featuring the likes of Marilyn Manson. Besides the normal military artillery, the player is infected with a mutagen and gains supernatural abilities to survive the invading alien forces.
Your caution is correct. The dark forces have begun to gather. The countdown to ascension has begun.
Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. There was once a time when the Battlefield name stood for outstanding quality with state-of-the-art graphics and precision gameplay. While those days are seemingly behind us for the time being, the PS2 managed to get one of the best entries in the once lauded franchise this side of bad company and laid the groundwork for what the series would become in the coming years. Whereas many other first-person shooters still focused on the run-and-gun style of gameplay, Battlefield focused on slower, more tactical encounters while still offering gamers the choice to go in guns blazing despite the odds being stacked against this option. Many of the modes now familiar to not only Battlefield but multiplayer first-person shooters in general, the landscape of both console FPSs and multiplayer offerings would look very different without Battlefield 2. Killzone.
On this day, we stand united once more. On this day, those driven to divide us will hear our voice. On this day, we shall act as one.
While it might not have been quite the Halo killer Sony was hoping for, Guerrilla still managed to deliver a solid first-person shooter experience that eventually became a well-respected franchise that boasted one of the best multiplayer modes that still hasn't been duplicated since. Nowadays, the original Killzone is looked back on with a bit more appreciation for what it accomplished on the limited hardware of the time. Despite the more cinematic presentation than other shooters of the time, technical hiccups and poor AI held the game back from mainstream appeal until its far more popular sequels came along. However, even despite the limitations, the gameplay remains remarkably solid, and the Hollywood-caliber sound design helps bring the irradiated landscape of the Helgen Wars to life.
10 seconds to launch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Black. When the creators of the Burnout series decided to apply what they brought to the racing genre to first-person shooters, it definitely garnered some attention. With the goal in mind to bring Hollywood-caliber action to console shooters, Black features some of the most impressive, for the time, destruction as well as all-out bullet hell mayhem and sound effects that could blow out many standard TV speakers. Black did for the first-person shooter genre what Michael Bay did for action movies. The story itself might have been complete nonsense, but it served its purpose of setting up the next action set piece for players to blow to shreds with a hail of thunderous gunfire. Thankfully, this one-off by the studio has been ported to modern consoles as well, so now new players can experience the cacophony of carnage and bullet hell that Black offers. Medal of Honor Frontline. The Medal of Honor series might be no more nowadays, but back on the PS1 and PS2, the series was the pinnacle of World War II first-person combat. And while both systems saw numerous releases over the years, the benchmark of the series was undoubtedly its first entry on the PS2, Medal of Honor Frontline. While it didn't make huge changes to its tried and true formula established by previous entries, Frontline nailed every aspect of its combat, objectives-based gameplay, and atmosphere better than any other entry. Storming the opening Normandy level remains an exhilaratingly haunting experience even today, and while many subsequent entries attempted to match this level of immersion, none managed to even come close. Call of Duty might be the reigning champ of first-person shooters these days, but for a time, Medal of Honor represented the best of what console shooters had to offer.
I couldn't have expected half the results you achieved. So, take some much-needed R&R, but rest assured we'll be calling on you soon.
Red Faction.
Mars. I always thought of it as a romantic place, a planet of mystery and adventure.
How is it with all the advancements in video game engines over the years, we've actually ended up with less destructible environments? In the early days of the PS2, destructible environments and terrain were barely a consideration due to hardware limitations, but the team at Volition and their Geomod engine proved it was not only possible, but it was a hell of a good time too. The ability to take out bridges, walls, and quite literally tunnel in any direction if you had enough explosives was revolutionary for the time, and is still a marvel even 2 decades later. Despite the Total Recall-esque plot tying everything together, the series proved popular enough to span a series of sequels, but sadly the geomod technology was never utilized outside of the Red Faction series, and there hasn't been a proper entry in the franchise since 2011.
What are you gonna do?
Who knows? I won't be staying on Mars, that's for sure.
Half-Life. Half-Life is undoubtedly one of the most important and influential shooters of all time, with its influence still being felt in the first-person shooter genre even today. The story of Gordon Freeman and the Black Mesa facility dealing with the fallout of an interdimensional incident and the iconic G-Man remains one of the highest-rated games of all time. While Half-Life has been ported almost as many times as Skyrim, until the recent Black Mesa, the PS2 version was the definitive version of the beloved game, featuring not only updated and smoother graphics, but also tweaks and improvements to level design. If you hadn't had the chance to play Half-Life during its initial release on PC, those on the home console actually had the chance to play the best version there was.
Time to choose. Wisely done, Mr. Freeman.
Timesplitters 2.
For they have taken their evil war into our past. Traveling through time, they have sown corruption, unraveling the fabric of our history.
The original Timesplitters was a launch title for the PS2 and was a wonderful proof of concept with its inventive character designs and time-hopping objectives, but Timesplitters 2 was where the series truly found its footing. Featuring a much more fleshed out and detailed storyline, as well as more levels to explore, and each taking place in a new time period, the sequel improved on its predecessor in every way imaginable. One of the standout multiplayer experiences on consoles, thanks in large part to a majority of the dev team having also worked on GoldenEye 007, Timesplitters 2 hit a bar that even its follow-up Future Perfect couldn't match. The series maintains a loyal fan base, and with rumors of the series making a comeback, there's no better time to be a loyal Timesplitters fan.
Time to get out of here.
Which PS2 shooter got your blood pumping and made you love the genre? Share your favorites in the comments. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.